It was supposed to be just another Tuesday. The air was hot, buzzing with summer tension in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. People moved in slow waves past diners, drugstores, and post offices. At the corner of 5th and Green, a black man in a charcoal suit adjusted his tie and checked his watch, 1:32 p.m. sharp. His name was Elijah Grant. Elijah didn't draw attention until he walked past Officer Darren Cole's patrol car. Cole sat sipping from a soda, his mirrored sunglasses catching the afternoon sun. He wasn't looking for trouble. But when he saw Elijah, something stirred inside him. A quiet, bitter assumption. The man was too well dressed, too confident. And to Cole, he didn't fit the neighborhood. Within seconds, the cruiser's door swung open. "Hey!" Officer Cole barked as he stepped onto the sidewalk. "You! Stop right there!" Elijah paused, eyebrows raised slightly. He turned slowly. "Can I help you, officer?" Cole's tone sharpened. "You match the description of someone we're looking for." Elijah gave a polite smile. "And what description is that?" "Don't get smart. Hands where I can see them." People began to glance over. A mother tugged her child to the side. A teenager took out his phone and started recording. Elijah kept calm. He'd seen this play out before, too many times, but he wasn't just anyone. Not today. "I haven't done anything wrong," Elijah said clearly. Cole didn't like the way this man spoke. Calm, controlled, dignified. "You got ID?" "Yes," Elijah nodded. "In my jacket. May I reach for it?" Cole didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward, grabbed Elijah's wrist, and spun him around. Before Elijah could protest, his hands were being cuffed behind his back. "You're making a mistake," Elijah said quietly. Cole smirked. "If I had $1 for every time I heard that..." The crowd grew. More phones came out. But Cole didn't care. This wasn't about evidence. This was about power and showing this out-of-place man who was in charge. "You have the right to remain silent," he recited, pushing Elijah toward the cruiser. But Elijah wasn't silent. "My badge is in my inside pocket. Take a look." Cole laughed. "Oh, yeah? You're a lawyer? A preacher? What are you going to tell me? Secret agent?" "No," Elijah replied calmly. "FBI." That stopped Cole, just for a second. "FBI?" he mocked. "Right. And I'm the president." He shoved Elijah into the back seat and slammed the door. Back at the precinct, Elijah was marched inside like a criminal. Officers glanced up as Cole pushed through the main hallway, making a show of it. He felt proud, until Elijah's words came back to haunt him. "Call Special Agent Rodriguez. He's your liaison," Elijah said. "You know, you're not helping your case," Cole growled. But his voice wavered. Then it happened. The captain stepped out of his office, Captain Morris, stern, respected, and not one to tolerate foolishness. "Cole," Morris barked, "why is there a man in cuffs in my hallway?" "He was acting suspicious," Cole explained. "Refused to provide ID. I brought him in for questioning." Morris looked past him at Elijah. "Elijah Grant?" Morris said, blinking. You know him?" Cole asked. Morris stepped forward like a firestorm. "Get those cuffs off him. Now." Cole hesitated, confused. But Morris wasn't done. "Elijah Grant is a senior FBI agent assigned to counterterrorism operations in this region. He works with the DOJ, the state police, and with us, directly." Silence. Cole fumbled with the key. His hands shook. The cuffs fell away. Elijah stood slowly, rolled his wrists. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. The room around them was frozen. Morris turned back to Cole. His voice was low, icy. "Step into my office, now." Elijah nodded once to the captain, then straightened his jacket. "I'll be filing a report," he said quietly. "Expect a call from Internal Affairs." As he walked out, the precinct stared, not at a suspect, but at a man wronged. A man with power, a man who stayed calm even when stripped of dignity. Outside, the crowd was still there. The teen who recorded everything caught Elijah's glance. He gave a nod of respect and hit upload. By nightfall, the video had already hit 80,000 views. But Elijah knew this was just the beginning. By sunrise, the clip had crossed 250,000 views. The title read, "FBI Agent Wrongfully Arrested by Racist Cop, Full Video." Twitter was on fire. TikTok flooded with stitched reactions. On cable news, anchors debated policing, profiling, and the danger of unchecked power. But inside the Louisville Police Department, the atmosphere was like walking on glass. Captain Morris sat in his office, jaw clenched, staring at the flat screen playing the video for the 6th time. Every frame made his stomach turn. Officer Darren Cole, the man who just yesterday strutted around like he owned the streets, was now buried under public outrage. The clip showed him grabbing Elijah's wrist, forcing him against the cruiser and mocking his FBI credentials. The internet had no mercy. The comments were brutal. He didn't even ask what agency he was from. The man said FBI and this clown laughed. Fire him. How many people like Elijah never get the chance to prove who they are? Inside the break room, officers whispered but avoided eye contact. A few quietly supported Cole. Most didn't. No one wanted to be the next one exposed online. Meanwhile, Elijah Grant sat calmly across from Special Agent Rodriguez at the federal building just a few blocks away. "Any injuries?" Rodriguez asked. "No, just bruised wrists," Elijah replied. "It's not about the pain." Rodriguez nodded. "We've got people reviewing body cam footage. But to be honest, that kid's video already told the world everything they need to know." "I'm filing a formal complaint," Elijah said. "But this is bigger than me. It's about what happens when someone doesn't have credentials, when they don't have backup." Rodriguez leaned back, thoughtful. "And what do you want us to do?" Elijah's voice didn't rise, but the weight of it filled the room. "I want real accountability, not suspension with pay. Not a quiet transfer. I want people to see that badges don't protect behavior." Back at the precinct, Officer Cole sat alone in the interrogation room, not as an interrogator, but the interrogated. Internal Affairs had questions. "Did you ask for identification?" "No." "Did you perform a basic database check before making the arrest?" "No." "Were you aware of Agent Elijah Grant's partnership with the department?" "No." Every answer was a nail in his professional coffin. When Captain Morris entered the room, he didn't sit. "You made the department a national embarrassment, Cole," Morris said, his voice calm but venomous. "You didn't follow procedure. You acted on bias. And now the whole country sees us as broken." Cole opened his mouth. "I was just doing my job. He looked—" "Stop," Morris cut in. "Say he looked suspicious, and I swear I'll write the termination papers myself." Cole's mouth snapped shut. "You're suspended pending full review. Badge and gun. Now." He didn't argue. He just sat there, sinking. Elsewhere, Elijah stood before a growing crowd outside the federal building. Reporters, activists, city council members, all had come. Elijah wasn't a man of theatrics, but when given a mic, he chose his words carefully. "I wasn't arrested because I broke the law. I was arrested because someone assumed I had." Cameras flashed. Silence followed. "I was lucky. I had credentials. I had rank. But this story isn't rare. It happens every day, to people who don't wear suits, don't have titles, and don't get believed." Behind him, a banner unfurled. "Justice is not a uniform, it's a responsibility." That night, on a special CNN segment, his words were replayed alongside statistics, past incidents, and a growing chorus of voices demanding systemic reform. By midnight, Officer Cole's name was trending at number 2 nationwide. But Elijah didn't celebrate. Instead, he returned to his apartment, quietly closed the blinds, and sat at the edge of his bed. He wasn't angry anymore, just tired. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for staying calm. You showed the world how dignity wins. My son wants to be like you." Elijah closed his eyes, holding the weight of that message in his chest. Because he knew this story wasn't about revenge. It was about setting the tone for what comes next. 3 days later, the Justice Department issued a formal response. Elijah Grant's wrongful arrest had ignited something far bigger than a single confrontation. It had exposed a pattern, one many knew existed, but few had seen so clearly captured, so undeniably documented. Major news networks now referred to it as the Elijah Incident. The Louisville PD was forced to hold a public press conference. Captain Morris stood stiff behind the podium, flanked by 2 city officials, hands folded tightly. Elijah watched from the back, not seeking attention, but there to ensure the truth didn't get lost in the PR spin. "This department," Morris began, "has failed to meet the standard of justice and equal treatment under the law. What happened to Agent Elijah Grant is unacceptable, and Officer Darren Cole has been terminated from his position effective immediately." That one sentence sparked applause from a group of citizens in the crowd. But Elijah didn't smile. Justice wasn't applause. It was action. Later that night, Cole sat in his apartment, blinds closed, phone turned off. His face had been broadcast to millions. His past arrests were now under review. Lawsuits were coming. He had gone from respected officer to a national disgrace in less than a week. But none of this mattered to Elijah. What mattered were the dozens, no, hundreds, of messages he kept receiving. One from a high school teacher in Mississippi. "My students now watch your video as part of our civil rights unit." Another from a young father in Chicago. "I showed my 8-year-old son your story. He asked me if being brave meant staying calm when you're being wronged. I told him yes, because of you." But it wasn't just individuals who noticed. The FBI quietly launched an internal review of how many of their agents, particularly those of color, had faced similar treatment while off duty. Policies were drafted to ensure immediate identification checks before arrests. Other police departments across the country began retraining seminars. Change was coming. Slowly, but surely. Still, Elijah remained grounded. He declined interviews from national shows. He refused to cash in on the virality. He didn't want to become a brand, just a voice that sparked something real. It wasn't until a week later, during an invitation-only community town hall, that Elijah finally chose to speak again. The room was packed. Local residents, activists, reporters, teenagers who once felt powerless. Elijah took the mic and paused. "I've been called brave," he said. "But bravery isn't walking away from fear. It's walking through it without letting it change who you are." He looked around the room, then at the cameras streaming the event live. "What happened to me wasn't unique. What made it different was visibility. But let's be clear. If we need a badge or title to be treated like human beings, we've already lost." A woman in the front row wept softly. "So here's what I ask," Elijah continued. "Don't just share my story. Share the stories of those who don't get to speak. Demand accountability where it's hidden. And when you see injustice, film it, speak up, act. Because the system only works when people like us refuse to stay quiet." A standing ovation followed. But Elijah didn't bask in it. He quietly stepped down, shook a few hands, and slipped out a side door while the applause still echoed behind him. Outside, the night was cool, quiet, peaceful. He walked toward his car when a young boy, maybe 10, ran up to him, holding something. It was a sketch, a simple pencil drawing of Elijah standing tall with a badge over his heart and the word respect drawn underneath. The boy handed it to him. "You're my hero," he said. Elijah knelt down, smiling gently. "Thank you, son. But remember, you can be a hero too." He looked up at the city skyline, A city still healing, a country still learning, a people still rising. And then he drove off, not just as an agent or a symbol, but as a man who turned one moment of injustice into a movement of truth.